Oh, hello. In today's video, we're going to do a faction review of the Elucidian Starstriders. So the Elucidian Starstriders are a really simple team as far as team building is concerned. You have 10 models in the box, and you build and paint all of them, and that's your team, and you don't get to make any choices. I love it, because I hate feeling like I've messed up the game before I've even gotten to the table, right? The only other thing to note on this page is that you have Recon and Security. Recon is probably your go-to deck, simply because you have a couple of guys that want to do things. They want to do mission actions. They want to do pick-up actions. Like, in general terms, Security is considered a powerful deck precisely because you don't have to expend resources to do it. You just have to stand in places and you can spend your APL to be shooting and fighting. But then when you have a team like this that has, action monkeys, we can call them, miniatures that are geared to doing those actions, I feel like you want to give them something to do. Hopefully that's not too kind of reductive of me, okay? Now, what they lack in operative selection, like shenanigans, they really make up for in special rules. So we have 2 slides today of special rules. So the first special rule is called Warrant of Trade. I'll read it. The writ of a rogue trader allows them incredible access across the Imperium. With more flexibility than almost any other agents of the Imperium, they barter, intimidate, and borrow to gain valuable resources that allow them to enter any engagement with the upper hand. Up to 3 times per battle you can use a Warrant of Trade rule below. Each one specifies when it can be used, and you cannot use the same Warrant of Trade rule more than once per battle. Consideration. When, in the Select Operative step, after revealing your equipment options, effect, select one additional equipment option. It can't be an option you've previously selected. So if you want, you could have 6, right, equipment, because you could go for the you get 4 base, you can get 1 extra in the scouting phase, and you can get 1 extra from your Warrant of Trade. That might be a real consideration. Consideration is a consideration, yes. That might be a real thing that you want to try and do, perhaps, if you're playing on Beta Decima. Because on Beta Decima, I've personally not played any games on Beta Decima yet, but just thinking logically, like, you're very likely to want ladders and barricades and heavy barricades and just all this placeable terrain, right? And being able to grab bunches of placeable terrain and also get, 2 of your faction equipment would be really cool. So I don't think this is particularly useful on Volcus or Into the Dark, where I can't quite see why you'd really want to go hard on, given that if you really want to, you go for the scouting step extra piece terrain. But yeah, it's a nice option to have. Then we've got coordinates. When, at the end of the second operative step, effect, you gain 1 additional CP. This team really loves having CP. I think starting with an extra CP is pretty well mandatory. I think I'd be taking this every single game. It's also really, it's powerful in a very straightforward way, which is good. Then you got coerce. When, at the start of the set up operative step. Effect, select one of the following options. Your opponent must set up all of their equipment before you set up any. You can set up all of your equipment before your opponent sets up any. Or your opponent must set up all their operatives before you set up any. I feel like if you're very good at the game, Coerce is very good, but you need to be very tactically minded to make the best use out of it, right? I think forcing your opponent to set up their entire team and then really studying the board and staring at where they've put their models and then placing your team, it could be really powerful, but it's most likely to be the most powerful when there's already a massive skill disparity, I think. I feel like it's if you're playing someone that for example, right? I'm very sure Zimbad is generally a better player than me. He generally wins, right? We've played 4 games, he's won 3 and we drew 1, right? If he was playing Starstriders, he would, I'm sure, be able to use Coerce to force me to set up my guys, and then he would be able to methodically set up his guys so that he had shots that I had given him through, bad deployment that I couldn't even see were things. On the other hand, if our roles are reversed, I'm not sure it would make a difference, because if you're very good at the game, you're not going to deploy in a place where it really gives your opponent a massive advantage. So I feel like If I was better at the game, I'd be saying Coerce is definitely the best one. And maybe if you really want to go hard on this team, Coerce is something you're going to need to be able to learn how to use. And if you're in a kind of meta where people are doing the thing of trying to screen out each other's equipment choices and, like, you know, things like placing a light barricade like near a door so your opponent can't place a barbed wire on the other side of the door and things like that. Like, there's definitely play there, but I'm just not. I've never experienced that kind of place terrain kind of shenanigans. So for me, it doesn't look that particularly appealing, but I think I can recognise what is possibly an important rule when I see one. And then we've got Explore. When is Strategic Gambit in the first turning point, the effect is to perform a free reposition action where with one of the friendly Euclidean Starstrider operatives that's wholly within your drop zone, and it must end the move wholly within 3 of your drop zone. So essentially it gives you an additional, the same as the move you can do in the scouting phase. It doesn't excite me very much. Bribe. When it's your turn to activate an operative, you can skip an activation. I think this could be really powerful. I can see a fair argument for keeping a point back for potentially Bribe, potentially the next one sees. I would probably only want to keep 1 point back, but I think Bribe and Seize are definitely things that you want to have in your portfolio of things you can do. Seize is in the strategy phase after you roll to decide the initiative, you can re-roll your dice. Listen, you could easily go for the entire game and never have to re-roll a dice and it never be a position where it would make a huge difference. So don't feel like you have to have one ring fenced. If you have a point that you think, oh, I could use this for Seize, and then you're using it for Bribe instead, I think that's no, never mind. Okay. And then lastly, you've got adaptable terms. At the end of the second turning point, you can select a new Tac Op or a new primary op. If you select a new Tac Op, any points scored from the previous Tac Op are discarded. I can't see when you would need to use this. You know, if you use it to change your Tac Op, then you cannot max your Tac Op. Right? Because you've already completed the second turn, and so you lose any points you've scored, so you locked out those 2 points. I guess if you realise that you haven't scored your Tac Op and your opponent, because of something about the game, you realise you've chosen a bad Tac Op, and you have that point that you've been hoarding for Bribe or Seize, you could decide to go, you know what? I need to spend it on adaptable terms because I've messed up. But I think using this is basically an indicator that you've messed up and you're going to try your best to claw back a win. And then we got the support assets. So this is really exciting. I'll read the card here. Privateer support assets. The Starstriders never stray too far from the new dawn. The ship could keep its name, right? But the majority of them operatives couldn't keep their cool lore names. There you go. Overhead. It's massive batteries of ship-based artillery rain down on enemies, providing invaluable air support. Once per firefight phase, when a friendly Elucidian Starstrider Navis or Elucidian Starstrider Euclidia Vhane performs a shoot action, you can select one of the following Privateer support asset ranged weapons for it to use. You cannot use each Privateer support asset more than once per battle. Okay. Whenever a friendly Euclidean Starstrider operative is using a Privateer support asset, determine cover saves differently. Instead, the target has a cover save if any part of its base is underneath vantage terrain. Note that while this can affect the target's cover save, you must still select a valid target as normal. In other words, the shot is guided by an operative in the kill zone, but it comes from above. So, what essentially this means, I'm just going to skip back. You've got Euclidia Vhane, it's 1, okay. You've got the Voidmaster, that's 2. You've got 3 Voidsman, that's 5. And the Voidsman with rotor cannon, that's 6. So 6 out of your 10 models, more than half, I wrote half here incorrectly. 6 of your 10 models can fire these weapons. So what you've essentially got is it's like a gunner that your opponent's going to have to virtually table you to kill the gunner, right? So we'll look at the Archaeotech Beam, which is undeniably the cream of the crop, right? So you're rolling 4 dice, you're hitting on 3s, 6, 7 damage, okay? Heavy, but heavy reposition only, right? And you're a 2 APL team, so it's barely an inconvenience, okay? Piercing 2 and silent, right? That's an infinite range, permanently silent, like, not quite a melter gun, because it doesn't have devastating on it, but it's pretty damn close to a melter gun, an infinite range silent melter gun. And yeah, it's an infinite range silent melter gun that you can only fire once, but actually you can fire it twice with a piece of equipment, which is absolutely mandatory. Okay, so yeah, that Archaeotech Beam is it's not all of what the team is about, but it's a very big part of what the team is about, right? Because you've got an infinite range, permanently silenced, effectively a melter gun that you can fire from 6 of the 10 models on your team. That's not bad. That's not bad. What do you do when you can't find the Archaeotech Beam anymore? Well, you've got a plasma battery, so it's 5 dice in or 4s, might be much worse. 5, 6. Lethal 5 up though. Piercing 1 and silent is pretty good. It's pretty good. And then I guess you got your 2 Archaeotechs, your plasma battery, and your 4th shot if you get it, right? If they give you a shot on turning point 1, which isn't always going to happen. You've got your macro cannon as well, which is 5 dice in on 4s, 4, 5. Piercing crits 1. Heavy reposition only. Saturate silent and torrent 2, which is pretty good. You've also got guided shell and cluster bomb, which I think are less useful because I guess I'm being affected by the meta, which people are taking a lot of marine teams, a lot of Eldar teams. People aren't generally taking the big horde teams, but these are the weapons where you trade in effectiveness and damage for blast. So the guided shell is blast 2, heavy reposition only and silence again. 5 dice hitting on 4s, 3, 4, and the cluster bomb is even worse damage. 5 dice hitting on 4s, 2, 3, but it gets blast 3. So those could definitely come in, but not. I don't think against the kind of teams that are really popular at the moment, certainly. And I really think it's going to be the Archaeotech Beam twice with the War Gear, the Plasma Battery, and then if you get a 4th shot, the Macro Cannon is pretty good. Yeah. Then we've got strategy ploys. So, lethal proximity. Well drilled in boarding actions and combat in cramped conditions, the Starstriders truly excel in close quarters fights. Whenever a friendly Euclidean Starstrider operative is shooting an operative within 6 of it, that friendly operative's ranged weapons, excluding the Privateer support assets, have balanced. It's not a bad rule to have. It's not a bad rule to have. You're not really a team where guys of yours with ranged weapons want to be within 6 inches that often. Okay, there are a few decent short range guns on the team. It's okay. It doesn't set my world on fire, but it's okay. Stake claim. When Euclidia Vhane stakes her claim upon a prize, the Starstriders will strive to ensure it's delivered into her hands. Place your claim marker in the kill zone. Whenever a friendly Euclidean Starstrider operative is shooting against, fighting against, or retaliating against an enemy operative that's within 3 of the marker, that friendly operative's weapons have the accurate 1 weapon rule. In the ready step of the next strategy phase, remove the marker. So accurate 1's really good, it's an automatic hit. Okay, 3 inches of marker is a pretty big radius. Turning point 2, turning point 3, maybe even turning point 4, plonking this down in the middle, right? So get your opponent off that middle objective or off center control. That's what I'm trying to do. Like, you plot this places definitely where your opponent's not going to want to just give up that area of the board. They're going to have to sit there and be shot with accurate 1, which is always worth having, right? Then we've got Undaunted Explorers. The Starstriders have weathered many terrible storms in their journeys through the void and are capable of shrugging off wounds that would fell lesser soldiers. The first time an attack dice inflicts damage on each friendly Euclidean Starstrider operative during the turning point in the resolve attack dice step, you can halve that inflicted damage rounding up to a minimum of 2. So this is really good. It's going to keep your weaker models alive for a little bit longer than people might think. Obviously, some teams are going to be, because you are only a 7 wound guy, some teams are going to be able to blow through you hard enough to they just ignore this anyway. But I think you want to have it on basically every turn if you can afford it, because It's one of those ones, it's a bit like an insurance policy. The turns that you don't have it open and the turns that it will have really come in useful, right? Then we got Quick March. As fearless as any elite Astra Militarum regiment, the Euclidean Starstriders advance swiftly to outflank and isolate their enemies. Whenever a friendly Euclidean Starstrider operative performs a reposition action during its activation, you can use this rule. If you do, add 1 to its move stat until the end of the activation, but it must end that move closer to your opponent's drop zone and cannot use a support asset during its activation. So it's a little bit tricky because it's an extra inch of movement that locks you out of your biggest guns, those support assets. But you don't have to use it, so you can have it active, and then when you come to moving a Voidsman who wants to use a support asset, you can simply choose for that model not to use the rule. So it's you can use this rule if you do, right? So it's a really good ploy because the majority of your team can benefit from it, which is great. I think Quick March, Undaunted Explorers, and possibly State Claim are all candidates for the free scouting phase, or scouting phrase as I've written there, the free scouting phase strategic ploy, which I think is really positive. Firefight ploys. So, combined arms. The standard training of the Navis Imperialis allows the Starstriders to rain fury down upon the enemy with rapid volleys. In great enough volume, even the humble lasgun can shatter formidable defences. Use this Firefight ploy after rolling your attack dice for a friendly Euclidean Starstrider operative. If it's shooting an enemy operative that's been shot by another friendly Euclidean Starstrider operative during this turning point, you can reroll any of your attack dice. You can't use this while shooting with a support asset. So it's all right. You've got one gun basically outside of your support assets. You've got the rotor cannon, so you can use this to give your rotor cannon a buff. And reroll any is good. It's a good buff. It's going to help kill people. It really is just the case that, beyond your assets, you don't have that much really high-powered shooting. But it's a decent ploy, right? Survivalist. Ducking for cover for a brief moment, the Starstrider bandages their wounds, applies stims, and prepares to rejoin the fight. Use this Firefight ploy when a friendly Euclidean Starstrider operative is activated that's not within control range of enemy operatives. That friendly operative regains up to D3 plus 2 lost wounds. You cannot use this ploy for each friendly operative more than once per battle. So this is amazing. A CP to instantly heal D3 plus 2 out of nowhere that your opponent can do nothing about is really good. Yes, it annoys me that it has the restriction of only being used on each model once per battle. Not because I think it shouldn't have it. I think it is badly needed for balance. But just because I hate having to track weird extra information like that. Alright? The minute I'm having to track some kind of weird extra piece of information, it annoys me. But it's a really powerful ability, and without that caveat, it could be really broken. Great Endurance. Each member of the Navis Imperialis assigned to a rogue trader is elite and prepared to endure the most testing of circumstances to perform their duties. Use this Firefight ploy during a friendly Euclidean Starstrider Navis operative's activation. Until the end of the activation, add 1 to its APL stat. So this is pretty good. Just getting an APL for a CP as and when you need it is pretty good. But it is only on the Navis operatives, right? So the 3 guys with lasguns, the guy with the rotor cannon, and the Voidmaster. And bear in mind that the ship weapons, right, the support assets, do have that restriction of being heavy reposition only that I said didn't matter. Well, it does matter because it does mean that you can't use Great Endurance to do move-shoot with an Occupant beam. That said, what this is going to let you do, right, is move, shoot, and then do a mission action or something else, right, which is pretty powerful. And it will let you potentially move, shoot, or move, shoot, and then weirdly double shoot with your Voidmaster. We'll talk about that when we get onto the Voidmaster's card. And then you got well drilled. Trained regularly and vigorously in the art of boarding actions, members of the Navis Imperialis are expected to precisely coordinate their strikes, working in tandem to complete the goals of the mission at hand. Use this FireFight ploy when a friendly Euclidean Starstrider Navis operative is activated. Select one other friendly Euclidean Starstrider Navis operative visible to within 3 of that operative. When that first friendly operative is expended, you can activate the other friendly operative before your opponent activates. When that other operative is expended, your operative then activates as normal. Now, this is probably very good if you're good at the game. I tend to view group activation as a negative more than a positive, because I'd rather have more activations than my opponent. Now, this is only on your Navis models. One thing that calls out to me with it is that you could use it with combined arms and with the one Navis guy with the rotor cannon to be like, okay, activating him with, activating this lasgun guy, shooting that guy, and then I'm going to well drilled into the gunner, and then I'm going to play combined arms, and now my gun can reroll all its dice. Which is cool. Like, that is a cool little setup. It's expensive if you have to do it that way and spend 2 CP, but it is a thing that you can do, right? Otherwise, I'm sure you can find uses for this in terms of opening doors into the dark, right? This guy comes and opens the door, and then this guy runs in and calls down an arcubus beam on your head. That's the other big one. So it's nice to have, right? But I'm really all about that survivalist. I think that's a great ploy. And we're on to the data cards. So this is quite a various team in that you have different saves, different APLs, different wounds values. So we'll start with Euclidia Vhane, the rogue trader herself. She has 3 APL, a 6-inch move, a 4-up save, and 8 wounds. She's got her heirloom relic pistol, which is a range 8, a 4 dice, hitting on 3s, 4/5 damage, piercing crits 1, and seek light. So it's a pretty good pistol, right? Seek light on a pistol is interesting, right? It's pretty interesting. You can get her there and be shooting up at people on vantage points and stuff, potentially, or, yeah, that's pretty cool. And then you've got your monomolecular. Excuse me, it's quite late. The monomolecular cane rapier. So the monomolecular cane rapier has 4 attacks, hits on 3, 3/6 damage, lethal 5-up. So the monomolecular cane rapier is a pretty good combat weapon as well. So pretty good at shooting, pretty good at fighting. The disruption field, she ignores piercing. So she's got a 4-up save and you ignore piercing, which is good. Digital lasers. Whenever you perform the fight action as part of the roll attack dice step, you can use this rule. If you do, inflict 1 damage on the enemy operative in that sequence. So you just do 1 damage when you roll your dice, which is pretty cool. That's going to change breakpoints. That's going to mean you can kill a 7-wound miniature from full health to dead in a single crit, which could be a big deal against a 7-wound team. But it's going to change other breakpoints as well. It's pretty cool. Merciless. Whenever this operative is shooting against, fighting against, or retaliating against an enemy operative that was already wounded when that action started, this operative's weapons have the balance special rule. If this weapon already has that weapon rule, it has ceaseless. Not sure what that there is for, because your weapons don't already have balanced. Notice that you can't use digital lasers to trigger this, because it's when you perform the fight action, so it wasn't already wounded at the start of the action, unfortunately. But it's still nice to have, right? And then we've got reputation to maintain. The first time this operative incapacitates an enemy operative during the battle, you can either gain a CP or use an additional warrant of trade ability. So those warrant of trade abilities that I said that you might want to save up for, you can use this to potentially re-roll the initiative and then also skip a turn. That's pretty cool. Or probably just have another CP, right? Which is really useful. You still can't use it to use the same warrant of trade rule more than once per turn, unless it's the CP, when effectively you're using that one twice, right? I will say this is a really cool character with loads of characterful buffs and things. It's hard to know what the best thing is to do with her, right? Does she want to move up into combat? She's kind of a problem solver. She wants to move around, get involved. And again, one of the things I like about this edition of the game is Headhunter isn't a thing. So you don't have to be that precious about your leader dying, right? You know, you can trade with your leader if that's what you want to do. And don't forget that she can use all those big guns. She can call in those big guns as well. So even if you're not within 8 inches, it's not just the little armsman guys running around that can do the huge guns. She can order the ship as well, which is pretty elite. Yeah, good. Then we got the Canid. His name's Aximilian. I don't know why Games Workshop are erasing the names, okay? He's pretty okay-ish in combat, right? 4 dice hitting on 3s, 3-4 rending isn't awful, but it's not really what he's for. He's got Beast, so he can't do anything other than charge, dash, fall back, fight, gather, guard, reposition, pick up marker, and place marker. He can do basically everything other than shoot, right? And he can't use any weapons not on his data card. Okay. He has 2 abilities that kind of are working against each other a little bit. So you have Loyal Companion. Whenever an enemy operative performs the fight action, if this operative is a valid operative to fight against, you force them to select this operative to fight against instead. Whenever an enemy operative ends a charge action within the control range of another friendly Euclidean Starstrider operative within 3 of this operative, if this operative isn't within control range of the enemy operative, this operative can immediately perform a free charge action, but must end that move within control range of the enemy operative. So what Loyal Companion lets him do is basically act as a canine shield for one of your better operatives in combat. Could be Euclidean Vhane, could be the Death Cult Assassin. Your opponent has to go through the dog first. That's pretty cool as an expendable shield. Or you can use him to grab sausages. So he has an ability, gather 1 AP, perform a free dash or reposition action with this operative. During the move, you can perform a free pickup marker or place marker with the operative. And any remaining distance it had from the dash or reposition can be used after it does so. So you can run him out, grab a thing and run him back, which is pretty cool with some of the tac ops that you could try to do. But I do feel his 2 abilities are pushing against each other. He's either a super vital objective grabber using gather, or he's a sort of sacrificial shield creature, in which case he's using Loyal Companion. Then you got your Death Cult Executioner, who is your other big combat threat. So she's got a funny little dart mask. So it's 4 dice hitting on 3s, 1/1 damage, range 6, lethal 5 up, silence and stun. So you're going to shoot this off. You got 3 APL, so you're going to shoot this off before you charge and hope to get a stun, which is pretty cool. But it's not great. You've got your power weapon, okay. 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4/6 lethal 5 up, which is great. Rapid reflexes, you ignore piercing, great. Bladed stance, whenever you're fighting or retaliating, you can resolve a success before the normal order. If you do, you must use it to block, right? So you're getting a block before you do anything else, which is really good. And then Zealot, if it's incapacitated in a fight action, you can strike the enemy operative in sequence with one of your unresolved successes before you're removed from the kill zone. Also really good. And then Trained Assassin for an AP, you can change your order. So, you're either going to try and shoot, charge, fight with the Dart Mask, or you're going to go for charge, fight, and then use Trained Assassin to flip back to conceal. Flip to conceal's alright, but how often when you've charged someone and then you've killed them, and then how often does going on a conceal actually help you? But it's nice that you got the option, alright? When I played this team in the previous edition, I used to like to give the Death Cult Executioner a crack grenade to give us something to do with our 3rd APL, so you could throw your crack grenade and then charge someone and then fight them. That was always what I liked to do. I don't know whether I'd still do that. Grenades have gotten a little worse, so yeah. The Lectro-Maester. So he's got a really interesting weapon. He goes down to 2 APL, 4 up save, 8 wounds. Okay, going to read his ability first. So he's got Calibrate Voltgeist for 0 AP. Select one of the following effects to last until the end of the start of the operative's next activation, until it's incapacitated or until it performs the action again. Charge. The operative's volcanic pistol has lethal 4 up, Or field, whenever an enemy operative enters the charge, dash, fallback or reposition action visible to within 4 of him, inflict d6 damage on the operative. Okay, so now that we understand that we can give our pistol a 4-up, a lethal 4-up, let's read the pistol. So it's 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4/4 damage, range 8, 1 inch devastating 1, so that's 1 extra damage to everybody within an inch when you crit, which is, yeah, it's pretty good. And it has rending, so it's reasonably likely to crit, and you can give it a lethal 4-up, so it's reasonably likely to get a decent number of crits with the lethal 4-up. So with the lethal 4-up active, it becomes quite interesting, because potentially you're going to get, 3 crits, right, with between lethal 4-up and rending, and then you can do that devastating splash damage of 3 to everybody within an inch, in addition to quite possibly killing the thing you're aiming at if it's got a low number of wounds. Yeah, that's not bad as a little trick, okay. Now, he's also got some other stuff going for him. So, Missionary of the Martian Creed. Once during each of this operative activations, it can perform pickup, place marker, or a mission action for 1 SAP. So, you're quite often going to be able to move this guy up the board. You want to get, within pistol range of stuff, and also doing your mission actions for you because they're free. And then he's got his Voltgeist array. Whenever an operative is shooting a friendly Euclidean Starstrider operative within 4 of this operative, you can reroll 1 of your defense dice. Bear in mind, it doesn't say another, so he is a friendly Euclidean Starstrider operative within 4 of himself, so he is always rerolling 1 of his own defense dice, which is pretty cool for somebody that's trying to get up the board and mix it in with people. Yeah. Then we've got the Rejuvenat Adept, APL2, 6-inch move, 4-up save, 8 wounds, very standard. This is private healthcare at its finest, okay? So you might think, oh, medic, we know what that does. It's like, yes, but if you read the medic ability, you'll see for this medic, when you're revived, you come back on 3 wounds instead of 1. Wow. And if we use the 1 AP thing to put in health, instead of it being 2d3 lost wounds, it's d3 plus 3 lost wounds. Wow, amazing, right? Better than all the other medics. It's also got an extra ability, the Normalizer Helm. Whenever a friendly Euclidean Starstrider operative is within 6 of this operative, you can ignore any changes to that operative's stats from being injured, including its weapon stats. That's also really quite good. So she's a medic, right? Medics are a bit boring. She's a really good medic. She's got a las pistol. She's also got a not awful scalpel claw thing that's like 3 dice, hitting on 4s, 3/4 rending. Like it's a desperation move. She doesn't want to be in combat, but it's not awful. Not awful. The Voidmaster. So, thing to remember with him is he is Navis. So, your various ploys that only affect Navis guys. So, you can give him 3 APL. And you might want to, in all honesty, right? So, we'll read through him. He's got his Artificer Shotgun. Close range is 4 dice hitting on 3s, 4/4. Long range is hitting on 5s, 2/2. It's not the best gun in the world, right? Then you've got your Relic Las Pistol, 4 dice hitting on 3s, 2/4, range 8, lethal 5 up. It's okay. Alright, it's okay. For 1 AP, you can do Uncompromising Fire, perform 2 free shoot actions with the operative. This takes precedence over action restrictions. You must select the Relic Las Pistol for 1 action and the Artificer Shotgun close range for the other in any order, and you can't perform it on a conceal or within control range. Now, the reason you might want to give him 3 APL is, again, and I'm not convinced this isn't an exploit. I've said this before on these rundowns with the Inquisition Pistolier, right? But the way they've worded all these rules, where for 1 AP, all you can shoot both your weapons, because it says it takes precedence over all action restrictions, you can shoot quite happily with your Artificer Shotgun and then do Uncompromising Fire for a total of 3 shoot actions from 1 miniature, costing 2 APL, which feels pretty good, right? It's still not great, and you're spending a CP to be able to, move and then shoot 3 times, if that's what you need to do. He's alright, right? He's got Hardy, so once per battle, when an attack dice inflicts normal damage, you can ignore the inflicted damage, which is pretty good. And he has Disciplinarian, so whenever another friendly Navis operative is within 3 of this operative, that friendly operative's ranged weapons, excluding the support assets, gain balanced. If it already has balanced, it gains ceaseless. That's not bad. He can basically buff the rotor cannon again, right? It's another thing that wants to buff our rotor cannon and give it balanced, which is fine. We've already got the ploy that's going to give it all the rerolls it wants, though, potentially. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. I think the Voidmaster is one of the least inspiring models on the team, to be fair. Then we've got the Voidsman. So, you know, these are the guys that can help fire your massive gun. 3 of them have las guns. It does what you think it does. It's 4 dice hitting on 4s, 2, 3. Okay, 1 comes with a rotor cannon, which is, you know, it's okay. It's 5 dice hitting on 4s, 4, 5. Or you can go down to 4 dice and gain torrent 1. Yeah, it's alright. There's various things in there that buff it, like the Voidmaster and the Ploys that we looked at. It's alright. And then Crewman is interesting. Once per turning point, if you haven't used a privateer support asset during this turning point, you can counteract with 1 friendly Voidsman operative that has conceal, but you can't perform any actions other than shoot, and you must use a privateer support asset to do so. So, if you end up in a situation where you're outnumbered and you're getting counteractions, being able to counteract one of your guys or conceal and use your silent support asset if you hadn't got around to using it yet, is pretty good. Like, it's not going to come up in many games, but when it comes up, you're going to be really, really glad it's there, right? Want to continually remind your opponent about I feel. Nobody wants to be like, aha! You thought you were safe and now you're getting Archaeotech beamed, right? Okay, equipment. We've got the faction undersuit, armoured undersuit. Ablative plates and steel reinforcements are woven into naval fatigues, providing an additional layer of protection. Whenever an operative is shooting a friendly Euclidean Starstrider operative with a 5-up save stat, excluding the Canid, you can retain one of your defense dice results as a 4 instead of a 4 as a normal success. It's a pretty powerful global buff. I'd rather it just made them have a 4-up save. Like, I don't think that'll be broken, right? But yeah, I think you're going to take it. It benefits a lot of your team. Hot Shock Pasta Packs. Dangerous but lethal modification of lasguns and las pistols provide the Starstriders with additional killing power with the risk of injury. Up to twice per turning point whenever a friendly Euclidean Starstrider operative is performing the shoot action and you select the las pistol or lasgun. You can use this rule. If you do, until the end of the turning point, you add 1 to both damage stats, and the weapon has hot and piercing crits 1, but you can't use it on relic las pistols. I don't know about this. Right, like, yeah, the extra damage is nice, and piercing crits 1 is nice, but it's not doing that much damage. You're risking hot, and you're a 4-up save team. Like, I guess you take it, right? It's annoying me that you've got 3 lasguns, you can only use this on 2, which seems pretty arbitrary. Like, they've excluded the relic las pistol, so you can't use it on the Voidmaster, which, like, in the last edition of the game, you always used to buy the Voidmaster a Hot Shock Capacitor pack to try and make him good. I don't know. It just seems like a really quite a lackluster piece of equipment. If it was a global buff to all the lasguns, that would, I don't think, would be broken, right? But never mind. We've got the 2 kind of slightly disappointing equipments out the way, and let's get on to the ones that are broken as nails. Okay, improved coordinates uplink. Coordinated triangulation undertaken by Navis Imperialis operatives allows the New Dawn's weapon batteries to more accurately target the foe. Whenever a friendly Euclidean Starstrider operative using a privateer support asset, if the target is within 6 of a friendly Euclidean Starstrider Navis operative, the target cannot be obscured and the weapon has saturate. So this is pretty good. Oh, it doesn't give you seek, so you can't get rid of like the most entrenched like stealth sniper guys, but it is good. If you're in 6 of somebody and they're obscured, you just go, nah, Archaeotech beam, mate, don't care. Right, which is, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, to be fair. I think you take it most of the time. And then the mandatory card, as foretold, Rapid Gunnery. The New Dawn's colossal batteries are slow to reload and recharge. Only veteran gun crews can possess the expertise and coordination to fire rapid salvo. Once per battle, when selecting a priority support asset, you can select one that's already been used during the battle. This takes precedence over the normal rules. Yes, 2 Archaeotech beams. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Like, this is just a permanent thing that you want in every single game forever. Okay, good. Tac Ops. It's interesting. So you have two operatives, the dog and the tech priest, that do things with markers. So, do you want to go for recover items so that your dog can run around and get sausages? Like, I think you want to try it, but I honestly think some of your other things are going to be more simple to score. Because I don't think recover items is that great. Like, plant beacon, yeah, you have to use your dog as a canine shield instead, right? Because it doesn't have anything to pick up and retrieve. But plant beacon, you know, your tech priest can still pop down the little beacon tokens for free. And plant beacon's pretty straightforward to score, so I quite like plant beacon. In terms of, like, if your primary already involves doing mission actions a lot, so your tech priest's already going to have something to do, like, you can just play out of security, right? And you can take contain or secure center or take ground, depending on what you want to do as well. So, I don't know, I think initially I'm drawn, like, I want to try recover items just to try out the dog's ability and see if it really is worth doing. But I think the answer is probably plant beacons. Probably. Possibly. The good news is you just buy the team. The bad news is out of stock at the minute and it's 40 quid. But you buy a box, weirdly not a kill team box, a 40k box, and then you get the team. There you go. Job done. Buy it, build it, paint it, love it. I love these miniatures. I think these are really, really cool models. I'm a big fan of this team. Some people don't like them. Those people are wrong. I think these are great. They are 40k to me. They just ooze. I love the whole adventuring party thing. I love the little lasgun guys. I think they're really cool. Yeah. I'm glad they're still a thing you can buy and they're still in the range and they're in 40k, and even when they rotate out of kill team, they're not going to go anywhere because they're great. That's it. Final thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I like these guys, right? I own them. I have them painted, and I'm considering, you know, if I wasn't trying to desperately learn how to do Brood Brothers for this tournament, I'm tempted to give these guys a run out. I think they're fun. Not heard a lot of chat about them either way, right? So on a lot of like the tier list, the people that actually know what they're doing with the game. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're not that great. Maybe I've glossed over some colossal flaw that they have. But just that core conceit of being able to fire out those 2 architect beams from one of 6 different miniatures seems pretty funky, right? Plus you got your Euclidean Vhane and your assassin who are pretty good in combat. Your tech priest's got his interesting little gun. Plus he can go around picking stuff up or clicking buttons. And then you've got a really good medic to try and keep your 6 huge cannon firers alive. I think it's pretty cool. But let me know what you think in the comments, as always. And thank you to my members, subscribers, supporters, especially to Compendium Lover, who is subscribed to the highest possible tier and therefore gets a personalised shout out at the end of every single video. Wonderful. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. I should have gone to bed almost 15 minutes ago, so that's what I'm going to do very shortly. But I hope you enjoyed that, and I will try and do novitiates tomorrow. Alright, cheery bye, bye bye, bye 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 bye. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye bye, bye bye bye.